One of the best parts about gardening in the fall is being able to come and look at the displays of spring flowering bulbs. We're at Quality Plants in Stillwater today, and as you can see, they have quite a display of different colors and types of spring flowering bulbs. Now what you see here is actually only a very small portion of the types and variety of spring flowering bulbs that you can get, but these are ones that have been selected to be very dependable for use in Oklahoma, and so it provides a good framework to build a spring flowering garden around. Now some of the earliest ones to flower are these here. These are your species crocus. They tend to be smaller and smaller flowered than your regular crocus, and they also tend to be much earlier blooming, so they're a good way of bringing your blooming earlier and getting a jump even on the crocus season. Your next bulbs to come in would either be your anemones blanda, which are very small, they're short, they're daisy-like flowers, very hardy, very easy to grow, and your regular type of crocus. These have a much larger flower than your species crocus, but they're still generally a short growing plant, very early, sometimes coming up before snow's gone or before the cold is really gone, before you really even think it's spring. They're a good reminder that spring is coming. Another bulb that comes in, another small flowering bulb, are your grape hyacinths. They are blue forms and white forms. And other types of anemones that are larger flowering and later flowering than your anemones blanda. After you get through these early spring flowering bulbs, you get into the season of the bulb that is definitely my favorite, and that's the daffodils. For ease of care, longevity, and bright colors, it's very hard to beat daffodils. What you see here are your regular, kind of your standard size trumpet daffodils. It comes in white, yellow, and some mixtures of yellow and white and orange and white flowers. There are several different flower types of daffodils besides these. There are smaller flowered ones. There are ones that come in clusters. And also one thing to be aware of as you're buying daffodils or narcissus, the two words are basically synonymous. Sometimes they're listed as daffodils, sometimes narcissus. Don't worry about it. They still look like this. Make certain when you're looking at them, there are early, mid-season, and late blooming daffodils. So you can have daffodil blooms for quite a long period by choosing the cultivars that you plant. So instead of buying all of the same season, buying all early flowering daffodils, try and space them out so that you have daffodils over a longer period of time and a showy display over a longer period of time. After the daffodil season's over, you get into the tulips. Now there's a class of tulips known as the botanical tulips or species tulips, and we have 5 examples of them here, and they're not as well known as they really ought to be. These are more close to the wild type of tulips. They tend to be shorter in height, and they also tend to be earlier than your regular tulips. Another very good quality about these botanical tulips is that they tend to be longer lasting in the garden than regular tulips. Your regular tulips they have a very good display the first year, second year a much diminished display, and after that they tend to peter out. Botanical tulips will tend to stay better from year to year and give you a better return on your investment. Now, when you look at a display like this and you see just all tulips, it's easy to get lost. Read the descriptions on them. You'll find that they generally come into one of several different types or classes. This one down here is your single early tulip. All of the types that are classified as single early tend to have single flowers. They tend to be your earlier tulips, and they're also relatively short. They're 14 inches tall, and this height is important, especially if you have a exposed or semi-exposed location, because the shorter flower stems are less likely to be blown over by high winds. So this can be an important consideration. Read the box if you have an exposed location, that shorter height is definitely an advantage. Emperor tulips, again, this is a mid-season type of tulip, early to mid-season. These are all relatively the same in the flower shape, as you can see, but within that class of emperor tulip, there is a wide range of colors, even though the height and the flower shape is the same. We get down to the triumph tulips, which are a mid-season tulip. These tend to be taller, 18 inches to 24 inches taller. And so these you have to be more careful, keep them out of an exposed location or the wind might take them and blow them over. Down here, we have an old type, it's Darwin hybrid tulips. They've been around a long time and with good reason. They're a very good tulip and they've stood the test of time. They're an old favorite. These tend to be taller and they also tend to be mid-season tulip. Up here, we have your late tulips. These are much taller, 24 to 26 inches tall. These are what you round out your tulip season with. So as you see, we can start out with single tulips, which are the early, come into mid-season, and end up with late ones. Just like the daffodils, if you choose your varieties correctly, you can get a long season of bloom out of them. And so by coming in with several different seasons of daffodils and overlapping them into several seasons of tulips, you can have almost a continual display of color. Now these are a type of bulb that really should have been covered over there. These are your hyacinths. They're generally before your tulips. Hyacinths' claim to fame is their fragrance. If you put in hyacinths, try and put them someplace where it's in an enclosed alcove or near a walkway, because they have a very sweet, very pleasant aroma. And if you're going to put them in a place where you can enjoy not only their color, which as you can see covers a wide range, but also their fragrance. Here we have several narcissus or daffodils. There's 3 of these, the paper whites, which most of you are familiar with, and a yellow and a bicolor, which are the same species as the paper whites. Now these paper white type narcissus are not hardy. You don't want to plant them outside. These are for forcing indoors. They don't require a chilling requirement. That's what makes them one of the easiest plants to force inside to get winter color, but they're not hardy. We have 3 others here, narcissus, which are dwarf narcissus. They're much shorter than the regular type of daffodils, and they make a nice contrast with the regular type of daffodils for shorter type of daffodil and in daffodil colors. If you're uncertain of which type of daffodil you're buying, whether it's an indoor forcing, non-hardy type or hardy type, ask the garden center help. They'll be more than happy to help you with your selection. Most garden centers will have some sort of information either that you can take home with you or that you can look at while you're there. There'll be a chart that'll give the different bulbs and give you their blooming season so that you can plan your garden better and get a bloom display over a long period of time. This one also gives you the flowering height and the depth that you need to plant it. When you're selecting the bulbs, look for ones that are large for their size, and the outside should be papery and dry. Check for any cuts, bruises, rotten spots. Make certain that you have a good quality bulb. Also, when you're buying them, when you take them out, put them in a bag, keep them separate so that you don't get a mix of different colors in the same bag. So when you plant it out, it's just a jumble. Keep them straight, keep them labeled. These particular boxes have little tear-off labels that you can put in your bag, which will tell you exactly what you've got so you'll remember when you get home. So pick good quality bulbs, pick the largest you can, the largest that you can afford. There is a relationship between the size of the bulb and the flower display that you will get. Small bulbs will produce small flowers or no flowers at all. So get the largest ones you can afford, make sure you have good quality, and now we're going to show you how to prepare a bed, and how to plant.